Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Windward Buddhist Temple's virtual Dharma service. We will begin the service this morning with the chanting of the Vandana and Ti-Sarana that's found on page 7 of the Praises of Amida's Virtue book. Please join me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namanda, 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 namanda. The sutra today is the English Junidai, or 12 Homages. It's found on page 120 of the Red Service book. Please join us. Namanda, 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 namanda. Gods and men all bow in awe to Amida the revered, in Buddha's wondrous pure land. Bodhisattvas gather round, golden form like the mountain king, steadfast like the elephant's pace, Buddha's eyes like the blue lotus. Thus I bow to Amida, Buddha's form round like the moon, bright like thousand suns and moons. Buddha's voice like the nightingale. Thus I bow to Amida, Buddha's figure on Kanon's crown, adorned with wondrous features. Buddha subdues evilness. Thus I bow to Amida, beyond compare Amida's pure virtue, shining clear like space. All benefit from Buddha. Thus I bow to Amida, Bodhi Bodhisattvas all renowned, Maras to praise Amida, primal vow made for our sake. Thus I bow to Amida. Golden palms where lotus bloom, towers a throne of goodness. Buddha lives like the mountain king. Thus I bow to Amida. Bodhisattvas come afar, attaining true happiness. They revere the Buddha's face. Thus I bow to Amida. All life changes like the dew. We have no permanent self. Buddha teaches this law to all. Thus I bow to Amida. No evil in the Pure Land, and no fear of evil paths. Faithful hearts honor Buddha. Thus I bow to Amida, saving us through many ways. No tempters, no evil friends. Birth leads to enlightenment. Thus I bow to Amida. Amida, thus I have praised. Virtues boundless like the sea. These virtues shared with others for birth into the Pure Land. The virtue of Amida's vow is shared equally by all, together attaining awakened mind. We are born in the land of peace. Namandam, 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 namandam. Please join me in reciting the Shinshu Pledge 2, which is found on page 6 of the Red Service book. Entrusting in the vow of the Buddha and reciting the sacred name, I shall proceed through the journey of life with strength and joy. Reviewing the light of the Buddha and reflecting upon my imperfect self, I shall strive to live a life of gratitude. Following the teachings of the Buddha and discerning the right path, I shall spread the true Dharma. Rejoicing in the compassion of the Buddha, respecting and aiding others, I shall do my best to work towards the welfare of society. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. The Dharma message this morning will be given by Keiji Kukino, a longtime board member of the Windward Buddhist Temple.
Good morning. Please join me in kansho for aspiration. Okage-sama de, by the grace of the Buddha of infinite wisdom and compassion, I have been able to live this life full of blessings. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida. Namo Amida. Thank you. For today's talk, I thought I would share with you what I had experienced during the past 6 months since the start of the COVID-19 lockdown. I am sure that all of you have experienced varying degrees of difficulty, some very severe, such as loss of income or being isolated and separated from loved ones. Others may have experienced something less severe, but nonetheless uncomfortable and irritating. I fortunately am retired and have received my monthly pension and stayed healthy, so I consider myself very fortunate. What bothered me most was during the first month of the lockdown, when I was not able to do any of the things I did as my daily routine, which included my daily exercise, which was to golf with my friends. The first 2 weeks were very hard. I found myself sitting before the TV for hours, watching the CNN news, which showed all the coronavirus cases and deaths in New York. And that was very depressing. And to make it worse, listening to all the lies that the president had made, that was very depressing, even more depressing, I think. Then one day it dawned on me that I had experienced a similar experience before. A depressing situation I had experienced when I was in the Army. In 1954, after basic training, I was sent to Korea. The fighting was over, but the country was in shambles. I was a medical lab tech, and I was assigned to the 43rd MASH, the MASH unit you see on TV, which was located in Uijeongbu, near the 38th parallel, way out in nowhere. The country was devastated, and there was nowhere to go and nothing to see. It was just terrible. And it was in late August, and it was very, very hot and humid. The hospital was in the Quonset hut, and it was air-conditioned. Our lab, however, was in a tent with no air conditioning. It was so hot and humid that we had trouble looking into the microscope because our sweat dripped onto the lens. I felt miserable. I had nothing but complaints in my letter to my sister. Then one day she writes back that I really should be thankful that the Army had sent me to Korea, because I would not be experiencing anything like that if it were on my own wish. She suggested that I should just accept whatever happens and let it be a learning experience and make the best of it. I guess it was like saying, you gotta play the hand that you are dealt with and make the best of it. However, in poker, if you have a lousy hand, you can fold. Or if you have a good hand, you can double down. But in real life, those options are not available. The only option that you have is how you choose to respond, how you want to feel about it, and with what attitude you receive it. I came to realize that any experience, no matter whether it is enjoyable or not, pleasant or not, welcomed or not, they are all valuable experiences. Experiences that I must cherish and use to my advantage. So that advice from my sister helped me see things in perspective, and I began to feel a lot better. There are many Korean nationals working in the hospital. One day, one of the Koreans who was the X-ray technician and also happened to be the leader among the Koreans, I guess seeing the changes in my attitude and demeanor, came up to me and spoke to me in Japanese, probably to test me out. It just happened that I was the only GI in that compound that spoke any Japanese at all. And of course, the Koreans all understood and spoke Japanese because they were under the Japanese control occupation for a very long time. And as we talked in my broken Japanese, he told me that he had been educated in Japan at the Tokyo University. He then asked me if I would teach conversational English to the Koreans in the compound. I was somewhat reluctant, but after thinking about it, I decided, yeah, why not? A few days later, just before I was about to begin the class, our lieutenant came to our lab and said, there's one slot open in Tokyo. Who wants to go? And it was a choice between my friend Henry, who happened to also be from Hawaii, and he and I were during the break playing cards. And so Henry suggested that we decide by pulling cards. Okay. And so Henry got, and he pulled a jack. Wow. And I pulled my card, and wow, I got a queen. And so I was the lucky one. And I was given the order to leave in 2 days. I was, of course, elated, but was also sad that I did not have a chance to experience teaching the Koreans some English. The Koreans were disappointed too. So in appreciation, they asked me to have breakfast with them in their mess hall before I left. The only item or items that didn't have a ton of chili peppers in it was the rice and tofu. I was not used to eating hot stuff at that time. And the send-off breakfast had an effect, a lasting effect, I might say, on me for several days and several months. As I reflect on the experience and recalling my sister's advice of long ago, I realized again that I should try to accept and make the best of the current situation. With that thought, I decided to make a new kukui nut onenju for myself. Since the last one I had, I gave it to my cousin in Japan. So this is the nenju that I made during that time. In making the onenju, it gives me time to meditate and contemplate and to calm myself. In the following days, I continued to watch CNN News. But instead of being frustrated and irritated by the lies told by our president, I saw it as entertainment. Every morning, I would turn on the TV and ask, what kind of lies is Trump going to surprise and entertain me with today? That guy is amazing. Never ceased to amaze me. Never ceased to amaze me, and how he can lie and twist and spin the facts to something unrecognizable and totally irrelevant, and to think that he can get away with it. Well, almost 2 months after almost 2 months of shutdown, the mayor opened up the golf course, and of course it was for limited play. But what a relief. Although we are still limited in what we can do, going back to my daily golfing has brought back most of my sense of normalcy. And I get my daily exercise. During this pandemic, what I came to realize most is the realities of the basic Buddhist principles of impermanence and dukkha. That nothing remains the same, that everything is constantly evolving, and that life is full of suffering, because nothing seemed to go exactly the way I want it to go. Seeing the economy shut down, so many people being affected and dying from COVID-19 in such a short time, compounded by the civil unrest for social injustice and all the sufferings that is taking place, has made me feel ever more grateful that I am really well off. In accepting those realities, I have come to more fully appreciate this moment. Yes, I am even grateful that I am still able to feel the pain, agony, frustrations, and inconveniences that I am being forced to endure. Yes, how grateful I am that I am better off than I really deserve to be. Okage-sama de. By the grace of the Buddha of infinite wisdom and compassion, I am being blessed always. Truly mottainai. To be given this grace as undeserving as I am. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Namanda.
The Gatha for today is To Live. It is sung by the Honpa Hongwanji Betsuin choir, followed by the Nembutsu.
In gratitude for yesterdays I've seen, in gratitude for gift of life today, in gratitude for my tomorrows yet to be, I bow in kansho. Namo Amida Butsu. This life of mine, just as it is, this heart of mine, just as it is, such as I am, I wish my dearly only this, to live my life this day as I am. That Buddha universal light, and I myself, just as I am, are bound as one, is a simple preciousness that brings me tears. Oh, the wonder of this life. Ikasarete ikite kita, ikasarete ikite iru, ikasarete ikite yukoto, te o awasu. Namo Amida Butsu. Kono mama no waga inochi, kono mama no waga kokoro, kono mama ni kano ni marinase, itasurari, ikinam kyomo. Anakashi mimotoke to, anakashi kono ware to, usubaru kono to otosani, nabidamu, inochi no fushi.
Namo Amida, Namo Amida, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Betsuin. With greed comes animosity, ignorance, pride, thoughts of self-benefit, and discontent. With generosity comes loving kindness, wisdom, humility, thoughts of all others, and great joy. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida. Thank you very much for attending our Windward Buddhist Temple's virtual Dharma service. Please be careful, keep healthy, and we'll see you again. Goodbye.